fantastic episode here on 100% Truth. And today, our guest, we're doing a rebroadcast. We are visiting once again with Marty and Rachel Moyer. Rachel Moyer is the founder of Pennsylvania for Freedom. It is true, though, we have more than one.
Mhm.
So I'm not wrong there. Um, but Rachel is also a member and leader in several other organizations, and we'll come back and we'll greet them and welcome them to the show. I just want to reach out and thank our new family members that we have once again this week. It seems like I'm never off. It's kind of like we every week we welcome new members to the show, and this week is certainly no exception. We want to give a huge shout out to Richard, Nikki, Roland, and Sasha. These are all one family. We got an entire family joined us, and it's fantastic. Richard, we definitely want to wish you well. I got to visit with you yesterday a little bit and was really glad to see you're doing a lot better and on the men, which is fantastic. Keep it up. I'm glad to see it. Nikki, Sasha, and Roland, glad to see you yesterday, and we got to visit for a little bit. And we have another new member. Her name is Mora, and we definitely want to say hi, Mora, and thank you for becoming part of the family. We need each and every one of our family members in our global greatest of all time family of viewers and listeners. And we also need to thank our community partners. And we start out with Hardee's of Myerstown. Hardee's restaurant supports our troops and veterans in various organizations, not just once a year, but all year long. And this year in particular, for the month of June into July 4th, Hardee's is supporting the Kazern Community and Veterans Outreach with Project Intervene, along with our salute to our heroes. Both are veteran support organizations, and Hardee's is taking donations to help support these organizations. Every time you go out and visit with Hardee's and enjoy their great, great food, part of what you're contributing to is supporting these organizations. And we'll be doing a live broadcast out there this Wednesday, live from 5 to 7 out at Hardee's. And again, please come out and help Hardee's to support these organizations. Um, I can't thank Hardee's enough for having partnered with us this year. It's fantastic. And another community partner is the William Penn Restaurant in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. This restaurant has been family owned since 1928. Believe it or not, it's actually been owned longer than I am alive. And I say that because I just celebrated my birthday, and everybody was so very kind and willing to wish me a happy 25th birthday for probably the second time. So I really appreciate everyone's well wishes um, for my birthday. So at the William Penn restaurant, it's famous for a menu favorite. Among the rest of their food, they have great breakfast. They do breakfast and lunch, and they're famous for their dogs and their Greek style chili sauce that Mike is still making the original family recipe, and it's fantastic. They recently just added homemade sauerkraut to their menu, so I suggest everybody go out and give that a try. And we also have the Pennsylvania Tavern and Players Association, who is a recent addition to our family of community supporters, rather. And these guys, the organization is responsible for advocating on behalf of our clubs, our taverns, our VFWs, our legions, and our social clubs supporting our veterans and community members. And there's really a huge battle going on right now with some attempts to pass legislation looking to tax the PA skill machines. And we're battling that. We'll get to that next week during our show. I just want to make everyone aware that this Tuesday there is a big rally down in Harrisburg where folks are going to be gathering. There is a bus leaving from Ship 91, the Navy Club over on Lehman Street. I believe it departs at 7:30 from there and goes down to Harrisburg. So the goal here is to have everyone meet at the Navy Club on Lehman Street prior to 7:30, so we can all take the bus down and have a nice day down there, making our voices heard. So if there's anyone who needs more information, you can contact me at 717-455-7086 or Willie Shea or Doug Zubek. I apologize, I don't have their phone numbers in front of me, so I'll give you mine and we can definitely reach out from there. I also want to definitely make shout out to a couple of my great friends who were wishing me a happy birthday and kind of let me know they're pretty happy with what we're doing here at the show. And Congressman Muser, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Congressman, for all your support. We got to meet and work together back in 2015, and I really enjoyed working with you, and I appreciate your support now. And Senator Mastriano, the same for yourself. You're fantastic to work with. You're a veteran of the highest caliber, and I'm very appreciative to be able to be one of your friends. I really value that. And then Mike Barley and Doug Zubak, thank you guys again for your birthday wishes, and I really appreciate the the minute to say hi and happy birthday. Makes me feel good. Thank you. And finally, we have another wonderful friend of mine, um, and it's Diane is the owner of Frisky Whiskers, male beard hair, and actually they now have services for children and ladies to be able to go in and get pampered. Um, they also have all kind of great products available, which Diane makes herself. She's fantastic. So if you're in the Pine Grove area, or if you'd like to even venture over there for some really great pampering and personal attention and treatment, give Diane a call over at Frisky Whiskers in Pine Grove. Thank you. And now let me, without further ado, welcome Rachel Moyer and her husband Marty to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you both for your time and coming on the show. I really appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Sal. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
You bet. You bet. Um, I think what I'd really like to do today is take a look at how the family is involved in the work that you do, Rachel, and all the support that your family gives. And also, I really want to let folks know we want to take a look at what all is involved, the sacrifices, the hardships. How does the family deal with this to help you be the person who is actually the people for the people in Elko, East Lebanon County? Um,
Right.
we talked a little bit about the start of your day, okay? And let's go right there because I'll tell you what, it is not similar to what folks are going to have in mind. So
Yeah.
give us, how does your day start out?
Well, I start the day around 5:30 in the morning. I gotta have my coffee and Jesus time, so to speak.
I wake her up at 5:30.
Morning person. um, so if the kids are in school, then they get up around 6. Marty leaves at 6 to go drive the bus and help get them ready, get them on the bus at 7. And then normally after that, I either go to a meeting that I might have in the morning, or I go to a coffee shop and I work on some things. And afternoons, I pick up my boys at 2 o'clock or 2:30 at school and take them home. Since it's Monday, that means it's school board day. So I always have a crock pot dinner made for my guys, and I'm out the door. Either it's a 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock meeting. Sometimes I don't get home until like 8, 9, maybe 10 o'clock. It depends on how long the meeting is. So that's like a typical Monday for me when the kids are in school.
Now, what happens should you decide you wake up, you're not feeling well, and maybe you'll just take the day off? What would happen?
Oh my
I
gosh.
get her up, even if she's tired, even if she doesn't feel good, she gets up
I
because
wanted to hear the world would crumble, right? It's because I believe it would.
work
Yeah,
keeps her going.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Now we talked a little bit, Marty, as far as like your part and everything, and Rachel will come right back. Um, but Marty, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you're a pastor, and I know a lot of our folks, the folks that know you closely, would be aware of that. But I'm trying, let's introduce you to our listeners and get them caught up.
I was ordained into the ministry in 1992, and that was in the church of the Brethren, and that was the first my first church placement was in 1992. Up until 2020, I served 5 churches in those 29 years. So I was in for 29 years, and then alongside of being a pastor, I drove a school bus on the side, and right now I'm driving a school bus full time.
Okay. Now, when you first decided to get involved in school board, um, doing things for the community to help, tell us about what motivated you and where did you start out, Rachel?
Well, in 2020 was the shutdown. Um, a week before the shutdown, Marty had resigned from and it was different for us. We started then going to a different church, and it is now independent. Um, and I knew that this isn't how it should be, especially with the mask. With my healthcare background in radiology, I knew that this isn't what we're supposed to be doing. And so somehow I found this group that Mike Altland had started called Free PA. And they had their first meeting in August of 2020 in York County. And I kept going to those meetings. They were weekly at that time. And then Mike said that he wanted to make this all throughout the state because it's this important. We need to take back our state. And so I went up to him after a meeting and said, I would like to start a chapter in Lebanon County. So we started the Lebanon County chapter of Free PA in September of 2020. And that was just on Facebook. Later in October 2020 is when we had our first meeting. It was at Commissioner Bill Ames' office. I was thinking, where am I going to have something that's open that people can meet without masks? Because, still we were under that stupid color system that Governor Wolf had of the
Okay,
red,
yeah.
yellow, green thing. We were still in the red. He held us back in the red forever just out of spite. But yeah, I messaged Commissioner Bill Ames, and we had like 25 people at our first meeting in October 2020, and it just took off from there. So that's how I got started being more in politics. In January of 2021 is when I had the then chairman, Ed Lynch, to our meeting to discuss like what openings people can run for local office, because that year it was school board, borough council, township super, down on the local level. And he kept saying that Elko has gone too liberal. We need more people there. And I'm like, huh, that's my district. And then so after the end, he was like, Rachel, I think you really should run. And all of a sudden, I just knew I was in the running, and I'm really thinking, Lord, I don't know if this is really what you want, but it was. Every step of the way, I can see that He has been there with me, and He's the one that's been guiding this. And then I need to stand for His truth and to speak up for Him. Even though I was a homeschool parent, I knew that I needed to run for school board because of our son, Daniel. Daniel was during the shutdown, because he's our social butterfly. He's our oldest, and he couldn't. His baseball season got canceled because he does Elko youth baseball. Um, we didn't have any of the activities that he would go to. Church wasn't really closed, but yet we didn't really have this social aspect of him being with his friends in church. So it really affected him. He had started acting out, had some depression, and that's when I knew that if he is like that, how are these kids in public school? And I just knew that someone needed to go and speak up for the parents in the public schools.
That's, that is so huge, Rachel. Um, my son was actually in public school during the
Mhm.
pandemic, and there was so much depression um, that he took on. And like you, I came to the conclusion he can't be the Lone Ranger.
Right.
You know, um, so it was I spoke with the folks at his school, and everybody was in agreement. But then the other side of the coin was we ran way shy of healthcare people to be able to address these new and uncharted waters for kids going through this. No, we didn't have this before, so no one knew how to act or how to prepare for it or how to deal with it. And then, like I say, once there was some direction, then the healthcare folks were pretty much um, at a very, very premium, very short supply. Um, and I really appreciate what you're saying as far as getting involved,
Mhm.
because one of the things I wanted to ask was, did it present a problem being a homeschooling parent and running for school board? And yet you answered that with your son's needs, so
Well,
yeah.
myself and my other friend, Bonnie Cantner, we both ran at the same time, and we ran together. Um, I was up front, like they was for Elko, and I was up front and told them, I'm a homeschool parent, but I know that you all need an advocate. So that's why I'm here. I mean, our children's education didn't suffer during that time since we homeschooled, but the ones in public school, their education did suffer. They didn't get a choice in what was happening.
Right, right. um, Going back to the healthcare workers, um, Marty, I think during that time, I want to explore a little bit about your pastor side. Um, and we had talked about being a pastor of a church and then kind of leaving that scenario. But what we agreed on, and is absolutely true, it's more than just a calling. It's not something that you know leaves you. It's part of who you are. And I think a lot of that was called into to positive use during the pandemic. I think I'm headed in the right direction there. Is that right?
Yeah, the saying is you never stop being a pastor.
Right.
Even though I wasn't serving a church, I was still in the role of pastor. And I remember during the pandemic, Rachel would have a live devotion where she would book, and then I would do devotions since the churches were shut down. And so I decided, hey, let's continue this ministry by having a devotional time. And so that's one way
That's beautiful.
where it continued. The
You
ministry.
know, that is so powerful. It really speaks to who you are, Rachel, and also Marty, who you are. That's it's hard to express the like how how great that is to hear, to know that you did that, because it's like not something most folks would do, not something they would think about, you know. And yet what I'm hearing is every time you see a need in whether it's your children or the community, you're stepping into that gap, you're stepping into that opening to help.
Well,
Incredible, incredible.
when I
I really want folks to know the kind of people you are.
And
I'm
when
sorry,
I would
Marty.
do those devotions, they would, mention on there that this was really appreciated, and they always, I guess, they wish I'd do it again. But yeah, every week. Some wanted me to do it every week, but it's a lot of preparation to do every week.
But you did at that time. I
I did
mean,
it every week
it
for a
was
while.
every Sunday morning. Um,
Okay.
and a lot of churches at that time didn't have a virtual capability either. So
Right.
tuning in on Facebook to see Marty's Sundays devotions that he had. We even did an Easter service
Yeah, I dressed
online.
up
Oh,
in a suit.
wow.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that were shut up at home, and their
Yeah,
churches, like I said, did not have a virtual capability. So I mean, we had not just our friends and family here in PA, but we had my family back in Virginia and our friends. The home church that I grew up in, Marty was the pastor there for a while. We had some in Kansas that were church that Marty did out there. So it just was a time when there wasn't any.
yeah. People in the church really missed gathering in church. They really missed that fellowship time. Um, it was a hard time for many people in the church because they kept the church closed for so long.
That was really hard to reckon with too. You know, the yeah. I'd like to stick with the spiritual aspect for a little bit, because right now it is such a crucial time in the world, and along with America and right here in Pennsylvania, and we need the leadership. And we talked a little bit about faith last time, and I think now it is such a big important part. And I'm hearing that your faith is really guiding you and leading you, and I'd like to go a little further with that, as far as you do a lot of work with helping candidates become candidates. Um, and I know your faith is very important along that role as well, in how you look at things. Is it okay if we talk a little bit about that, Rachel?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So when I first started, I had no idea how to run this. I went to all these different grassroots organizations that had different campaign trainings during that time, starting in January of 2021, and then my primary was in May. So in between that time, I went to different ones to gain information on, because I had no idea at all. Um, I was very with some other campaigns that were going in our area. It helps too. We could share resources But I know out, it can be very overwhelming. When I look at different offices that'll be open, now it's gotten to where people reach out to me like, "Hey, I have a friend who would like to run and has no idea what to do, and would you please meet with him and talk to him and help him?" So, I mean, that's what happened recently with the Myerstown Borough Council race. A friend had referred me to someone that he knew that was running, and that borough council definitely needed a change. And so I met with the candidate, and I always interview for like an hour. I think sometimes they don't really know, but it's an interview.
Right.
I just get to know them, to see where they are, what their beliefs are, how they are in their convictions, because that's important.
Very
No
right.
matter
Yeah.
which office, whether it's local, state, or federal, you got to be solid, because there are going to be different things that are be thrown your way, and how much are you going to compromise? Are you going to compromise, wait, and then leave where you're supposed to be, and go for convictions? That's not good. You have to be strong in this, because position will throw all kinds of stuff at you. You will get attacked. Sometimes, seen during races, there'll be anonymous letters sent out against you to voters to not vote for you. It's like, how are you going to have that? Because it takes a strong person to run for office. Like, somebody had came to one of the booths that I was doing for our county GOP, helping out there, and I was cleaning at the event. She came over, and she Myra, and she recognized me and said, "I just wanted to say hi and thank you for what you're doing. You had to have some thick skin for all the stuff that they say about you that's totally unfair." And I was like, well, you know, as believers, we know where our identity in Christ. It's not in what other. And I think
Right.
that's very
Right.
important to know who you are. You have to know who
Yeah.
you are to be able to stay strong in this.
I want to add a little bit more to when Rachel's talking about meeting with the different candidates. That gets back to ministry earlier in building relationships. A lot of relationships with these candidates, and they would share, not only their political views but their personal lives, right? They'd
Yes,
share personal struggles, and Rachel was very good at listening to that and responding to their needs there. So it was a lot of it was building on relationships, and people come up to her and they say, "Hi, Rachel," and she don't even know who they are.
me from
Public,
Facebook.
they know her from somewhere.
Um, but I have made so many friends being able to help people run for office. And that's the thing. Once they're in, I don't leave them. I'm like, we are friends for life, you know.
Yeah.
We need each other
Yeah.
to stay strong and to fight this fight, especially for what the Lord wants us to do, and to get this, let alone our county, back in place.
Yeah. I would have to say I'm kind of feeling like the pendulum has swung back the other way. Um, even maybe a little bit, but I feel like it finally has. Through President Trump and his leadership, and he's not shy about thanking God and being humble in that regard. And his
Yeah.
awareness that it's not all about you, brother. It's about God using you. And that's where
Right.
it's at. That's the beauty, right? Yeah, I'm the first one to admit I'm a prime example of God chooses the foolish to do good things. It's like, yeah, yeah, I'm nobody without him. And then I wanted to
Exactly.
like, I'm sorry.
I said, it's exactly it. I
She's
mean,
agreeing with her.
yeah, he takes
Oh
our
yeah, yeah,
weaknesses and turns them into good for his glory, and that's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like something you were saying earlier about, taking a look at a potential candidate's willingness to compromise. And of course, we can all agree that compromise is part of everyday life, but at the same time, you made a really good point, and that is, how far is someone willing to compromise? Are they willing to set out? And I think, one of the points we made was, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So it's kind of like, yeah, there's no, well, I'm a little shaky in this, but really I'm a solid person. Well, no, you probably aren't, right? Yeah, it's like you really need to have an idea of where do you stand. So it's great that someone of faith is in your position and really goes by faith, I think, and exercises your faith. Um, I know you're involved with some organizations out in Westmoreland County, I believe, as well. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we're so in let's see, it was 2023, January 2023 is when I left Free PA and decided to start my own group called Pennsylvanians for Freedom.
Mm.
And we had someone that wanted to start his own chapter of Pennsylvanians for Freedom out in Westmoreland County. So Dave Shiro is our leader out there in Westmoreland. And so we have some out in Western PA also. It's important to have a grassroots group if you can. Whenever the GOP needs help or maybe falls short in one area, the grassroots need to come along and pick up where we can for to help a conservative candidate finish and cross over in their race.
Now, when you say the grassroots out there, is their mission kind of very similar to the Pennsylvanians for Freedom as far as like uh, addressing needs in the community and trying to get those met, as well as visiting with and interviewing, as we say, potential candidates? Is that the role as well?
They try to have meetings too, like we do here for Lebanon at Ono Fireball, and they bring candidates in because we want to meet the candidate. We want to ask questions, have group members ask questions too, so they can vet the person and they align with values and principles. And so they do that. We also have calls to action.
Okay.
They might have
Okay.
for their area send out, like there's local area, county that they need to be aware of, like go to a commissioner's meeting or a township meeting or something like that. We have here in Lebanon County too, and also for school board updates on what school board is doing. I also try to do some Lancaster because some people for our Lebanon chapter we have people that not just Lebanon County, but they come from Lancaster, they come from Cumberland, sometimes York, sometimes Dauphin. So we are trying to branch out and to make more chapters in the different counties. But right there, right now in South Central, and then we have the one over PA.
So you're on the move. This is growing. This is great. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marty, how I know you mentioned about driving bus and helping out in the pastoral side. How else are you involved in like supporting and helping the whole mission um, and the family itself, the family unit?
Well, I'm home with our boys when Rachel goes out on her events. Rachel and I, we like to go to events together. It's very important. You know, there are times that we do that, but sometimes I'm not able to do that, and so I need to be with the boys. A deacon in a church told me my number one mission is the boys at home. Bring them up in the ways of the Lord. Part of that is to be there for them. So that's one way that I support Rachel. With the home life, is to be there for at the time. And the boys say in favor of Rachel and her calling into the political life too. Yeah.
They have helped me or putting
Yeah.
signs together for a
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah.
They've done that. Like, especially I would just take them with me. Like, okay, today civics class.
Right. Yeah.
They're in a private school. I do at times, like Daniel loves the March for Life,
Okay.
which is either September or October, to go to the March for Life in DC. So he comes with me to Washington, DC, and does the March for Life.
Beautiful.
Because being pro-life is very important to our family. Yeah. And Daniel being so young, I mean, he's not young, and seeing how important it is to be a part of something like that is just want to debate that in both of our boys.
Yeah, our son.
They go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say our son knows a lot about. He knows every president. What number there were, who they ran against in their political campaign, and all this. So
the next morning after the election, go right to the computer and start looking up all the election statistics of who won and by how much. And
Wow.
He's been doing that since he's 8.
You had a campaign manager in the making there. Yeah.
Correct, or consulted or something.
He knows Pennsylvania is red and which county in Pennsylvania.
And he's how old?
He even
8?
followed.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, he's been doing it since he's 12 in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our other
the beauty.
Good too. In helping, he's an encourager a lot. He encourages Marty too. If I'm having trouble with something, we'll come over and pray. So he's our prayer warrior in our house, our encourager. So he's important too. And he's only.
Wow. I'm hearing all this and I'm thinking the powerhouse your boys are going to be because of all this, like on hands OJT learning. The powerhouses these boys are going to be is going to be phenomenal. They'll have the ability, the God-given ability to be able to help in ways that we can only imagine. They'll be that advanced is what I'm feeling. Yeah. I want to ask you, just so our viewers can kind of get a perspective. If someone said to you, well, about how many hours a week do you put into work? And I know we didn't even get to the Thursday, I believe it is, that you work in the office. But including that, what, how many hours a week would you say you actually, you work? Like 60? And I know it's not a 40 or even close. I know that. I see you everywhere, and you invite me everywhere. Unfortunately, I'm able to get to some of them, but your schedule is incredible. It's incredible.
I'm gonna say it just depends on the week. I'd say, I don't know.
Week, she is constantly on the go. It's kind of like me being a pastor. There's no set hours. Someone can call her late at night with a question for a candidate, and so there she is. So
I do get questions around 10, 11 o'clock. Because even this past time, I helped in Lancaster County with her primary. So I was able to help with her team because 2 years ago, she lost by 19 votes trying again. She was also a homeschool mom. So I know exactly how it is when you're running and you're homeschooling with her messaging on her campaign. And praise the Lord, she won the primary. So I'll be helping her in November. But, it's not just here in the county. If someone reaches out to me, I try my best to help them in any way I can.
You've never not answered the phone for me or not replied to a message. You're amazing. You really are. Um, I don't want to get into like specifics too much, but I'd like to let our listeners and viewers know just what type of huge compensation package you have for all the work that you do.
Well, zero.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling of accomplishment and to be able to help someone reach their goal. I mean, and knowing that to the community, because our community is only better when we have strong leaders in it.
True, very true. Um, Marty, we're gonna put it back to you, sir, because evidently um, you are the breadwinner on the physical plane here, and the spirituals provider for the spiritual need as well. Um, how is how does it work for you to drive bus, take care of everything you do as a father, um, and then continue on as a pastor as well?
Yeah. Well, I get
He just does very very well. I mean, he does a morning bus run, and in the middle of the day, this is when we have our date lunches. If my schedule permits it and his, we would at times meet. Um, so, and then he has his afternoon, and he's able to take care of kids when needed. If I have an afternoon or evening meeting, and he takes them to their ball games because Daniel has baseball and stuff. So yeah.
Um, I'm going to take this completely on myself to make this comparison. This was not prompted by you at all. I just feel the need as a stand up guy and doing the show 100% truth to bring this out and make this comparison for my viewers and listeners. And I want to tell you, compared to some other folks that are in office and proposing some legislation, there is no silver spoon at the Moyer residence. There are no invitations to the casinos at the Moyer residence. There's no helicopter picking you up
No,
and taking
definitely
you
not.
anywhere, you know. And yet you have the heart of the people. You have the heart of the people. Um, God, I love you guys. I really do. You're beautiful people.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have met you a couple of years ago. But I really want to point out that you know you work so hard, and your heart is in the exact right place for bettering your fellow man. And we all know that the riches are not to be stored here on earth. That's not what it's all about. This is all temporary.
absolutely.
You know, so I really can't thank you enough for what you do. And I am so appreciative that you're on the show here today and visiting with us. Um, we'll have to get together again really soon. Um, is there anything you'd
Yes.
like to let your folks in Elko or across the state know before we wrap up?
Well, basically, you know, My spouse is my everything, but so is my Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We couldn't do it without him. I'll tell you. You know, I thought,
Absolutely.
yeah, I thought it was funny for a lot of years, and God has a good sense of humor. He let me get away with it.
Oh, that never, because then God will have you do it.
Right? Yeah,
And I've also
yeah.
learned faith over fear. I've
Yes. Yes.
been put in situations that I have no idea really what I'm doing. It's only with the grace of God. He carries me through. He helps me in every decision that I make. Um, and, it wouldn't be possible if we weren't a unit together. That's another thing. Like, this is a team
Very
effort.
key.
Yes, it
Very
is
key.
very key.
And say that Sunday Sunday morning in church, both of us, all of us, are very involved in church. So our faith and our ministry is also there, and we're very catered there too.
That is
So
one rule I have from my husband, is that I have to be in church every Sunday morning. So
yeah, I said, yeah, when it comes to any kind of event, it should not interfere with Sunday morning
correct.
church. Yeah,
Right.
and even our son Daniel, he doesn't want to play baseball. Interferes with his church on Sunday. I mean, yeah,
Well, yeah. I remember something about uh, whatever you put before the Lord, He will take it away. Um, yeah. So everything we have is like a gift, grace from Him. So I'm in that same thing. It's like I have to be careful about what I value. 'Cause if I value something
Mm.
high, in the wrong direction, it's like, well, really, where did that come from? So yeah, yeah, I really admire your strength, your faith, your perseverance, and your unwillingness to compromise too far. I really admire that.
Amen. You have to, no matter what. And it says in Romans, if God is for us, who can be against us?
And you know what? I'm going to leave our listeners with this question. You sleep very well at night, I believe. Yeah,
Yes, even
no problem getting this.
when there's chaos, because I know that God is in control. I mean, I've had a lot of stuff thrown at me, but okay, because of Him.
Yeah, yeah. God has a sense of humor too. Sometimes He likes to have fun, throw stuff at us.
Yeah, that is true, because there were
Marty,
things I
thank you
didn't
for
know would happen. So yeah.
Marty. I really appreciate the Intervene shirt that you have on. Uh, yeah, um, which is Project Intervene. Just really quick for our listeners and viewers that are not aware, Project Intervene is our veteran suicide prevention unit. And what we do is we educate folks in how to understand what you're seeing in a veteran. And it's not limited to, but it is our focus on veterans, how to interpret the behaviors that you're seeing, what's going on, how to become aware that it's not just a bad day or a bad month. There's a process happening here. And once you understand and realize what you're seeing, then the next logical step is, what do I do? I see it, I understand it, but what do I do about it? And then we teach the other component there as far as what to do. And that answer is in building a safe intervention team. And when I say safe, what I'm referring to is two components. One is that you don't want to be the person to try and intervene yourself, because you may not be aware of any triggers that you may be causing to be pulled. So you don't want to take that risk. And the other part of safe is you want to involve non-mandated reporters in the intervention team. We want our veteran to be able to know they're safe with whatever they're sharing, whatever they need to share, whatever's going on. There's not going to be a backlash that a mandated reporter needs to report on. So we want to always examine, and the question has to be answered truthfully. Are you a mandated reporter? Well, if the answer is yes, then we need to hold that person to an absolute um, no other option to involve them, which would be like a life or death situation. Otherwise, we want to continue to reach out and work with non-mandated reporters, whether it be a therapist, a psychiatrist, um, uh, counselor, friends. We can look at the VA for resources there, but that is the entire gist of Project Intervene. And we also highly recommend using the 988 crisis emergency number. I've used that to help some folks, and I'm 100 for 100% in using that resource. All three times have been successful, and we have folks who have not chosen to make that ultimate decision for a temporary problem. What does not appear to be temporary, but with the proper treatment and help, it can be temporary. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel and Marty, for everything you do. Thank you for your time. Really love having you on the show, and I can't wait till we do it again. So, folks, Sal Santori here, thanking you for your time and your support. And also, as I'm going hoarse here, losing my voice for real, uh, I want to remind everybody to please find someone to help.